stage name will be.
Yeah.
Guys, we are already having a ton of fun. We're here with Mike Alessi and Jeff Campbell. Welcome, guys. Love to hear a little bit more about what we've got going on this season. My voice sounds odd as it's an AI version due to a technical issue.
Well, me and Mike, we just met at the arena cross races and kind of just started chatting and about some sponsorship stuff. And then the team that he's was riding with was Redline Oil, and Chuck has been a good friend of mine for a few years now, and they were supporting Mike through the General Tire Arena Cross Series. And me and Mike, I kind of pitted under their tent with my son that rides in the 85 class, and so me and Mike just kind of become buddies, and did a little bit of sponsorship with him on a brand that I was kind of building and making. And then as the season went, I'd see Mike at every race, and we'd just chit chat and hang out, and our families would kind of interact. And then Mike would kind of give me a little bit of advice here and there with my son, and wouldn't be any better of a coach than Mike Alessi. I always looked up to him as in the heirs of even being quite a bit older than him. I would watch him through his career and admire, about everything that he would do with a dirt bike. And my stepson did as well, even before we kind of met Mike at the track and at the races. And so we just kind of become friends. And then now we've done a couple motocross schools together, or one, and we're working on another one. And then we're going to go back into the General Arena Tire Cross Series this year to try to catch that championship against Michael Hicks. And we got a bunch of stuff lined up, and we're just kind of putting it in place. And I work hard on it every day to try to put it in a direction that Mike wants to foresee the rest of his career. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. And then a lot of other things following that will leave the Arena Cross Series into the Supercross Series on the East Coast.
I love it. Mike, how did you meet Jeff?
Well, first and foremost, when I met Jeff in Arena Cross with his son Hayden, instantly we had a bond and we connected. And it was more than just riding and watching his kid. It was like a friendship that we could tell that we like bonded and we connected. So it was cool. And racing the General Tire Series was fun this year, finishing second. Behind Michael was good. We want more. And that's when we kind of started talking about maybe formulating our own little team, and with Honda of Ozarks helping us out with bikes and parts, just a little stuff like that, so we can go racing for this next year in 24, and just kind of putting all the pieces of the puzzle together now, where this last year I put it together in 2 weeks because Jay, the series promoter, kind of approached me. He's like, hey, like, let's try to get you on the series. What do we got to do? I know it's only 2 weeks to the series starts, but like, let's make this happen. Where this year I want to come in 100% prepared, the bike, the fitness, all of it, so we can be challenging Michael for that title, because he's going to be going for 4 in a row, and that's pretty huge. So we're going to try our best to stop him.
Wow, what were the points?
I think it was like 50 points we lost by. He was basically had enough points that he didn't have to race the last round. That's why he bounced to Houston Supercross right after the Friday night was over. And we split the moto wins on Friday night. I got the 250 main. He got the 450 main. I had a fall. I was right on his butt and lost the front end, washed out. So, like I said, it was a good season. I won multiple races, led multiple laps, got lots of hole shots. And when Jeff and I kind of sat down and approached this idea February into March, we were like, let's make this happen where we can make our own team. And we just been putting the pieces of the puzzle together the last two months, really. And here we are. And we're going to be getting the bikes in June. And we're going to be, like I said, ready to start riding in October, and ready to start trying to win in November, when it starts, November 3rd and 4th in Topeka, Kansas.
How important is it to be prepared, Mike?
Well, like you said, being prepared is the hugest thing. You don't go into life planning to fail. You fail to plan. And right now we have a good plan. We're going to run this through Arena Cross, which goes basically November 1st to February 1st. And then that would transition with the possibility of going into Tampa Supercross in February, Daytona in March, and then it would be Nashville and Atlanta in April. So that's kind of our preliminary plan. Like I said, the biggest thing is getting the bikes in June and then starting the work and getting the bike stripped so we're ready to get a good fast motor in it, suspension, wheels, foot pegs, exhaust, all the bike, everything it needs for the bike to go be competitive to win, and take that to Arena Cross so we can see if we got something for Michael. And we know right now, watching Michael, he's a top 10 guy on the East Coast. I mean, it's plain as day. He got 4th in his heat race at Tampa in the heat race. And then last week at the Detroit Supercross, he was 9th or 10th in the main event. So we know that with good starts, which I'm a good starter, and being up front, I should be somewhere in that same group, if not better. And first things first is going to be Arena Cross and making sure the bike is turnkey. I feel comfortable on it, and we know our speed's good. And as long as we feel that everything is good to go, come February, we'll go race.
Jeff, how ready are you and Mike?
He definitely is just a week away at about any time where he's ready to jump on a bike and get a podium. He stays fit. I talk to him just about every single day, sometimes 3 to 20 times a day, about what he's doing, and he's always on his road bike. He's working out. He sends me videos of him riding at his track, and he's any time could jump on a bike and place, and we know he'll get a start. So that's where he's dangerous at any time, is that he can get that start. He has that technique like no one else has. He can perfect that technique on any given main event. And then I know for a fact that he still is competitive and he's never lost that drive. And watching him ride and race, he never gives up. He stays in it to win it. He doesn't back out if he thinks that he's getting beat. He stays right there. They've never took off and dropped him. He stayed right there with them, and if not won. So the speed is always there. And he told me one time when he was just with me a couple weeks ago at my house, sitting in my front room, he said, "You never lose the speed. You just lose that endurance. So you keep that endurance up, because that speed is always sitting in your back pocket. You always have it. You just have to keep that longevity in your exercises and your performance through like your workout and your nutrition." And he's got all that dialed in after 18 years of being pro. He knows what he needs to do. He knows when he needs to do it, and he knows when it counts. So keeping that in mind, that's why he's dangerous. And he can come back. He can win. He definitely podium, and he can never be counted out.
What exactly do you see yourself working on to improve for optimal results, Mike?
Well, this last Arena Cross series, I was on my dad's 2-stroke, and throughout the season, we were kind of battling some problems with the engine. With the second round, we had an engine problem where the Kickstarter snapped off the shaft, and it did some damage to the motor. So we had to end up borrowing somebody's bike. And then at the last round, the very last night of racing, after practice, I heard a weird ticking noise in the engine, and I was like, this bike don't seem safe to finish tonight. So I had basically 2 options, which was be done for the season and not race that night, or go scavenge through the pits and find somebody's 2-stroke that I could ride.
Yeah.
And luckily, Travis Schaefer, super good guy, an awesome friend now, let me ride his bike, and I went out there and pounded out 2 main events and got both main event wins. And I told him after the race, I'm like, I think that was maybe the best I rode all season on a borrowed bike. And I told him, I'm like, it's probably going to need a new clutch, because I was wearing that clutch out and I was wearing those tires out. So I told him he's kind of going to need a new set of Hoosier tires for the rear, because I was burning that bike up. And like he said, he's like, that was the fastest I've ever seen my motorcycle go. He's like, that was a privilege.
What do you feel contributed to your success, Mike?
I feel like just the pressure was off. The championship was kind of over. And at the end of the day, it was like, okay, I had second already wrapped up in the championship. Let's just go race and finish this out. And if I get a good start, which I did, and I was able to win both main events, and I felt comfortable and confident on his bike. I mean, literally didn't touch anything on his bike as far as like levers, foot brake. Like I'm talking like 5 minutes before opening ceremonies, I'm literally rolling up to do the opening ceremonies on this dude's bike. And I hadn't even ridden it all night long. And I just get on it right for opening ceremonies and then right into the heat race.
Were you guys setting sag while they sang the national anthem?
Yeah, we were.
Oh yeah. National anthem was going while we were like getting the bike off the stand. And because the only
Yeah.
thing we had time to change was the front number plate.
Yeah.
We couldn't change the side plates. We had to change just the front plate. That's why if you look at my Instagram or videos of that last night of racing, the only thing that is on that bike that's mine is the front number plate. That's it. That's all we had enough time to do was just take the bolt out, put my front number plate and bolt it in and to the starting gate or to the opening ceremonies.
He literally went off the stand. I handed him the number plate. I went and got it off his bike, got the transponder. I was zip tying the transponder on, and he rode his bike from the pits underneath the stands where we were pitted, and he rode it out, and they called his name, and he went right out on the track.
Yeah, literally.
So there was no time to stop and buckle a boot even. It was time to go.
Yeah.
Jeff, what do you feel contributed to Mike's success this year?
I think Mike, before the races, I think he had it pretty figured out. They'd stay at they'd stay at a hotel, him and his wife. I think she came to just about all of them. And his kids got to come to some of them. And either we're in the pits in Chuck's trailer and I'm holding the kid while his wife's taping his back or his arm or whatever. The kids are running around. And then Mike's dad and racer. And so, he'll maybe go do activities before his races weren't usually till the end of the day because they had amateurs before, and then he wouldn't come in till about 5 and practice. And I think him and his family got to do some stuff before the track. I think they enjoyed their family time before he had to go to work.
Anything you want to add?
At the end of the day, like you said, Jeff, I mean, I'm 35 years old. Like, I'm not a 16-year-old kid anymore. Like, I don't need, mommy and daddy to tell me what to do and how to do it. Like, I know when I wake up in the morning, I got to train, I got to eat right and take care of my girls when I take them to school in the morning at 7:30, pick them up at noon. Like, that's my job. Like, I get it. And in between that situation with dropping her off and getting home, and then I do my training from 9 to 12, and then I pick her up. And then after that, then it's off to the track to do my laps and put in the work. So, I don't have any time to play around no more. I'm a 35-year-old man with 2 little girls and a wife. Like, my life's in complete order. I know what I need to do. And I just try to be a good role model for these kids. And when I go to the General Tire Series, just to put on a good show, we might not win and Michael might be better, whatever. It is what it is. But I know this year we're going to be coming in a lot more prepared and ready to try to win.
Strong. Yeah, we got good stuff this year. So it's a lot more competitive. It'll be the program that he had was good. There was good guys with him. The Redline Oil team and the General Tire Arena Cross team were good to Mike. And
Chuck David at Redline Oil were super accommodated. They helped me tremendously. And I just want to say a big thanks again, obviously, to those guys for having my back and working super hard, taking my bike from each race and working on it and just being in my corner. And obviously, Jay Reynolds, the series promoter, for having me and be a part of the series.
And Mike, he would fly into the races and, he was relaxed. It was semi-pro in his days. I mean, what he went through this time, he got to show up and his bike was there and prepared like it should be. He deserves that. He put in his time. He put in his work. He's put in his efforts. He should show up, put his gear on, swing his leg over, and go to work, clock in, do his job, and then go with his family. And he deserves that. So Chuck and them were really good about having everything prepared for him and clean. They cleaned his gear for him, his bike, oil, everything. And it was top notch. It wasn't a joke. It was serious. And that's the way that this is taken, even to bring it on to this year coming. It's bringing back Mike from a few years ago where he needs to be. and that's where he wants to be. Mike's a racer. He
Hmm.
likes it. He's told me it's in his blood. He loves it, and we're going forward to win.
Mike, the narrative surrounding age is changing. Would you agree?
I mean, 10 years ago, I was just starting out with Genova, 2012, 2013, and we were battling Dungey in the outdoor series for the title. And, I had one of my best seasons in Supercross. I was sixth overall and second in the outdoors in 2012. So, obviously, and then we had just gotten married, my wife and I, in 2011, the year before. So, yeah, if you look back 10 years ago, things were, a lot different. And as the years kind of progressed, 16, 17, I was pretty burnt out. And then we had our first daughter in 2018, and it's kind of like resurrected me, like where I feel like the pressure is off. I'm a dad now, and it's not necessarily all about winning. It's about being a good person, being a good husband, and being a great father for our kids and our girls. Like that's number one for me. And racing for me is just the cherry on top. And in my heart and soul, I just love riding a dirt bike, and I just love
Yeah,
it. So
absolutely.
our biggest thing right now is we're just like between Jeff and I, we're just trying to find some good sponsors to make it worthwhile to go do the arena cross, and then and have the sponsor money to progress from there into Supercross in February.
Mike, you've avoided burnout for years now. This has ended the career of many racers before you. What's been your secret?
I had two kids, straight up. I mean, they give me the motivation to give them a good house, put a roof over their head, put food on the table, and straight up, like I said, and like at 17, I was over it. I was burnt out, and yeah, I was just going through a tough time just because I'd done it since '04. Oh yeah, '04 when I podiumed with Carmichael and Wyndham at 16 years old, 2 months. 16 years old, 2 months. Like that's the youngest a rider's ever podiumed in the 450 class in the outdoors. And traveling the world, it's awesome. I get it. You're living out of a suitcase. You're traveling and living in a hotel for 3-4 days, a rental car, then back on the flight back home. It just kind of got monotonous, and I just was over it by like 16, 17. I just had enough of it, and I needed out. I was mentally burnt out just with the sport, and obviously the industry. You just see the same people year in and year out, and you don't see them for a couple months from the off season, and you come back to Anaheim and everybody's broing down and hugging each other, fist pumping, and it's just like that these people really aren't your friend, but you got to play the game. Like you got to play that game, and I just was sick of it. I was over it. I didn't need to play the game no more. I was established with my rental houses and my properties that I had, that I didn't need to be doing Supercross no more. So I basically gave, in a sense, everybody the big FU. Like I was over it. See ya. And yeah, it's been since 17. So 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3. It'll be almost 7 years since I've been in a full series of racing Supercross. If we can make things work and come back next year and be almost 36 years old. So yeah. And like you alluded to Justin Brayton, I mean, when he did that, he won that race, which was 2018. He was on my dad's team, the Smart Top Bullfrog Moto Concept team. And it just kind of aligned everything. It was March 10th and his number was 10. It was just like all the signs aligned, and obviously being 10 o'clock at night, the race. And
Yeah,
it was just a weird deal. And I remember just how excited, not just obviously JB was, but for the team to get that first ever Supercross win. It was a huge deal. And like you alluded to, I mean, who's to say that couldn't happen again, right? And with all the right pieces of the puzzle, why couldn't that happen? Why not me? And like I said, having my two little girls, that just everything changed in 2018 when we had our first daughter. And then obviously the pandemic and everything kind of shut the world down in 20 and 21. And then we had our second daughter in 22, and it was just like, you know what? I want to come back to racing and maybe even make it to professional again, because I still feel like I have that drive, that will, the determination, the willingness to just go out there and just, freaking scrap elbows and just get aggressive into the first turn and fight for that hole shot. And see where it kind of leads. And if it's a good finish, awesome. If it's a bad finish, and it is what it is. I feel like in my mind, because my mind is so clear and so good right now, and being 35, I feel like my fitness is like really, really needs to be for my age. Like I feel good, and when I'm riding the bike, I feel good. And you know what they say: a happy rider is a fast rider.
It's so true.
And at the end of the day, a lot of these riders are chasing the money. You chase the money will run. You chase the passion, the money will always come. So you chase the passion, and the passion will always lead you to success. I feel like we're in a world where a lot of the kids coming up, they're privileged, right? They got the motorcycles, they have everything turnkey at their fingertips. Where if you look back, Carmichael, Stewart, me, myself, Alessi, Millsaps, Villapoto, we came from nothing. Like our parents didn't have good jobs. We were struggling, like just to go from race to race and just to be there, be competitive. And that's why Carmichael was so good. Stewart so good. RV was so good. Myself, Millsaps, we freaking hated each other because we knew we had to win to put food on the table the next week. And at the end of the day, when you're living, to pay rent, like you're going to win at all costs. Where the kids these days, they don't got to worry about that. They just show up, the bike's there, the gas is there, new tires, new chain, whatever. Like it's, if they get first, awesome. If they get 15th, it's like, okay, well, who cares? Mom and dad's got a job for you waiting when you're 18, 19 years old at the construction business, and your desk and your chair is sitting right here, and all we got to do is just dust off the dust and
show up.
You're going to work.
And then they're jumping in their $300,000 motorhomes, and you guys were jumping in a regular truck and sleep in the back seat.
My first ever truck was a 1988 Toyota stick shift. That's what I learned to drive when I was 15 years old.
Jeff, what was your first car?
It was a 1968 Chevy long bed that me and my dad built. I got it when I was 15 with my own lawn mowing money. We went to an auction and I bought it. And my dad said, "You sure you want that piece of crap?" I said, "Yep." He said, "Okay, we'll build it together 1 year." Wet sanded it for Christmas. He worked at a race car machine shop, so I got a good motor for Christmas. We tore it down, tore everything out of it. We primered it gray, had big 10-inch tires on the back with a 327 motor. And he said, "You work on it, I work on it. You don't work on it, I don't work on it." So that gave me work ethic too. If you want something, you got to do it. He wasn't going to go out there and do it for me. That would have taught me nothing. I've had the same job for 31 years. I've never had another job. I've always done heating and plumbing, and I built a bunch of homes also. So it was my family's business, and I bought it and took over from them in 2002. So I've never done another job. I've always had motocross as a passion. When I was a kid, I rode. We couldn't afford a good bike. I rode junk. And then I remember when I sold my first house that I built in 2004, I went and with cash and bought a brand new Suzuki 125. And then I rode it, and then I would go ride on the weekends with all my buddies. And we just enjoy riding and racing dirt bikes. I never was at the level, even could touch what Alessi does. I was a BC rider, vet 30, weekend warrior, racing dirt bikes with all my friends. My daughter lived with me, and I was always busy working. And then meeting Mike is like, when I met him, it's like kind of like a son. I'm a lot older than him, and it's like he had that passion for the bike and to put in the work like I did when I worked and was taught. Because it was like, here's the job, go do it. And you figured it out. You couldn't call someone. There was no cell phone. So you figured it out. You didn't have someone that would come and do it for you or get the job done for you. You done it. Mm-hmm. Mike goes and does it. He did it himself. No one else was on that bike and twisted that throttle for him. He did that himself. He's earned every single bit of everything he has. He's put in the time. I've put in my time, 31 years at the same job. it's kind of apple to apple, different, different thing all around about between construction or dirt bike, but it's the same ethic, and he has that, and he'll never lose it because he had nothing, and when he got what he has, he understands what it took to get it. That's why it's important to him. That's why he doesn't quit or give up, because he never was taught to give up. He was always taught to chase it and make it happen, and he did it. And that's why he's sitting right there where he's at with all them trophies.
And still doing it.
And he always will. That's the thing. He always will. I mean, he's getting ready to go to two-stroke nationals in a couple weeks. I mean, he's going to Brazil to race. I mean, he's got a calendar right there somewhere that's full, getting close.
And right now talking with a team for World Supercross too. So that's kind of in the works. I mean, it's kind of spilling the beans a little bit here on Jeff. I haven't really told him, but yeah, I got a phone call yesterday from a World Supercross team. So that's definitely a possibility. And I would say,
yeah,
might happen.
What about your childhood and upbringing shaped you into the man you are today?
I'll be completely honest to your question. Like, we didn't come up with anything. My mom and dad worked at a trash company, right? And my dad would drive us in the morning, and this is early, like 4 or 5 in the morning, and we would sleep in the back seat of the car until my mom got there, and then she would be able to take us, and then we would go riding and Tuesdays and Thursdays at Glen Helen and go ride to do our training and go do it, right? And yeah, it was tough. Like, we made it work, and I like kind of reiterating what you said, like about the kids these days, kind of it's all kind of hand given to them. They're a little bit soft, and that's why guys like myself and RV, like, we were gritty dudes, and we didn't take no shit. Like, we just worked hard, and we knew we had to get the results. And for me, I'm still doing it to this day. I'll be honest, like, one of my favorite things to do every day is getting on my road bike and going for 20, 30-mile bike ride. And it's just the peace, the wind in my face, and just listening to my mind and the thoughts that I have going through, and the things that I want, the goals that I want to achieve, and what I need to get there, right? Nothing's going to stop you. It's the only thing that's going to stop you is what's between your ears, right? At the end of the day, if you have the right mindset and you strive to get results and you work hard, good things will come. And I live by these 3 things: don't lie, don't cheat, and don't steal, and good things will always happen to you.
I love it. Jeff, what are your thoughts yourself?
Well, I think that, like, whenever I met him, and we're getting back to that other while ago, I was going to finish that question. When we went to Tulsa to do a motocross school, and me and Mike and my son Hayden, we rented these little scooter birds to go down through town, and Mike wasn't standing on the corner yelling, "Hey, I'm Mike, look at me," or whatever. I mean, we had this guy, New Jersey guy, just happened to be in town. They had a big wrestling tournament at the BOK Center in Tulsa, and this guy just walks out of a kind of a little cutout in a building and kind of walks out, and something with motocross got brought up, and that
the
guy,
monster hat, that's what it was.
Yeah, the monster hat, yeah. And the guy said, "What about that?" And I said, "Mike Alessi," and that guy's like, "No, it's not." And he said some other words, but he's like, "Take off your hat. You're not Mike." And then he took it off, and then he kind of hit Mike in the arm, and he's like, "Oh my God, I watched you." And it's like, people still value him in the sport because he is, and he achieves so much. And these people that were around, even a guy at the airport, when I picked him up, there was a young kid, and I was messing around. I made this little plate with an 800 on it when he come walking off the terminal, and this kid seen that plate, and he's like, "Do you know Mike Alessi?" And I said, "Look," I said, "actually, I'm picking him up in a minute." And he's like, "Do you think you'd take a picture with me?" I said, "Absolutely." I said, "He's a good guy. Follow me." So when Mike got off the airplane, there was a kid there that waited, even missed his Uber so he could stay and wait to get a picture with Mike. So, holding a value or in values in someone, it's like, I value myself like to offer Mike like, hey, I want to do this. I'm in my life where I can and I want to, and I want to I want to help him. And it's not like like he needs me. He doesn't. He has a lot of stuff he can do on his own. I'm grateful that I am a part of the team, and we have another friend of ours, Ian Payne, that is with us a little as well and wanting to achieve these goals and values with me and Mike. And he's a sponsor of with Mike. So he has great people behind him, and he couldn't, and maybe it's misspoken, but I don't think that maybe he would be on the podcast today. Me and you connected, and I wanted to bring this because I think it's his value is worth to hear and to promote him back. And that's what I want to do with him, is promote him to the level where, because he told me straight up, I want to race. I'm not announcing retirement. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to say those words right now. And he wants to race. And if he told me, hey, I don't want to do this and all that, it's not like we're going to stop being friends. I mean, we have several things planned together outside of racing because we take that very seriously. It's not a joke. We're here to win. We're not here to participate. We're there to get a job done for the sponsors that I'm bringing for Mike and the people that I'm approaching. Like I have meeting this afternoon with a big one, a great big sponsor in town. And then I have a few more that is lined up and a few that sponsor my son. And so I'm bringing those along for Mike, and I want them to be a part of it. And so I think we all hold a value to ourselves and what we're worth, but I want to have and make it where Mike could finish these last years, whatever he wants to do, where he doesn't have to worry about, I got to go out here and find a sponsor to do this race. I got to go over and find this. So I'm trying to take that role where he just has to ride and train and do his work. And he has other stuff going on. There's other people in his corner that I've not even met yet. But I'm here centrally located to bring the opportunities for him, and it is to what he wants to do with it. And that's win.
So I would love to hear more of how do you see your future in creating real value for future sponsors.
I think that what helped me to go get like this first one that I went and got, because I worked in the public, so talking to people really wasn't a big deal, because you sell when you do your own thing, just like what you do and even what Mike does, you're all selling something. And the way you pursue it and the way you say it, you only have about the first 5 minutes if you know they're going to take part in it or not. The first few minutes, if the rest of your 30 minutes you're talking to him is a waste of time or not. Mm-hmm. So when I work out with the guy, it's a big blanket company out of Springfield, Missouri, and I work out with that guy at the gym. And I said, he'd always ask me, he's like, hey, what'd you do this weekend? Did you have a good weekend? I said, yeah, I went race motocross. And it's a $500 weekend every time we go ride. It's $500 to go race. And so we got a motorhome, a race trailer, and it's $500 to go race. So I said, would you want to do a sponsorship? And he said, yeah. Well, a couple of weeks later, we kind of misconnected at the gym, and he said, hey man, I was in the dressing room, and he said, hey, I want to do that deal. I said, really? He said, absolutely. He said, I'd really like to do that for you. So we met. I took my son to his office. We got a picture of him signing a check. We went out in front of the building, took a picture. The guy was ecstatic. I sent him results, sent him pictures. I'm introducing him to Mike. I think they maybe went to China for a little bit to do some work. They come back. I'm working on a deal for the Arena Cross and Supercross series. I'm getting a deal put together to give to him. So I'm working on all that. So whenever I went to him, I just kind of put it like this. You go over to a local TV station and say, I want to run an ad for my deal. You're going to pay a monthly or weekly or airtime, and it's going to be a lot of money. Well, here's the thing. We race every weekend, and we talk to everybody. So I put your logo on my dirt bike, and we go to arena cross races, which are on TV. And then, so my kid podiums, or for say, Mike podiums and has big blanket on the bike, that's better than a TV commercial, because Mike's going to race every weekend, and Mike's going to, you look at his stats, he's going to podium, or if not win.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to mention your name every single weekend on TV, on Fox Sports 1 and all the
Logos
stuff,
on the jersey.
Yep. So, and then a shirt that he wears. I mean, he ain't going to wear a shirt that doesn't have a sponsor on it. He wears those every day. So everywhere he goes, someone's seeing that logo every single day somehow. So when I go approach the sponsor, I just lay it out there like that. I say, look, you can buy a TV commercial, which is going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars, and people might not be home. They're going to be at work. On the weekend, people are going to be at the dirt bike races, and on Saturdays, you're going to DVR that motocross race from General Tire Arena Cross Series or Monster Energy Circuit Pro, whatever series. So they're going to see that. So that $4,000 or $5,000 they give you, or $20,000, you're going to run that all season for a year, and that's going to be on TV every weekend. So I kind of lay it out, and if you get it in a roundabout way, that's how I kind of lay it out. And if you lay it out in that perspective, 9 times out of 10, you walk out of there with a deal or a phone call back in a week with a deal, because it means more to them that they're gonna be, and they get excited. Then they want to be a part of it. They're like, oh, Mike might get third. He's going to be on the podium. Oh, if he wins, they're going to take a picture of him and put it in a magazine. So then that magazine gets published out to 1 million people that subscribe to that magazine, that's sent to their house or phone or however it is. And so those people, it's a win-win for them, instead of doing a commercial where me and you're going to be at work or the gym when that thing's aired, and we're not even going to know that existed.
And the best part, it's on FS1, which is a big marketing station for TV for people and viewers. Like, I still get viewers and people that are writing me like, bro, I just watched your last round in Memphis, Tennessee. You borrowed someone's bike and you went out and won. Like, that was so cool, like historic. And I'm just like, thank you. I appreciate the support. Like, people see that, they watch it. Yeah. And the best part is it's re-aired. So it's not just a one-time deal. It's a re-aired show that continues through March and April.
Yeah.
Mike, what were the best years for earning a living as a professional athlete?
I'd say the good years were 07, 08, 09, right before the crash. That's when the money was good. And, I had good results. I was vice champion to Tedesco in 05, Villapoto in 06, Langston in 07. So I made good money. And then obviously I was running second behind Stewart when he had the undefeated season before I had my big crash at Redbud. And then winning the championship in 09. Like, people don't, looking back on it, people don't, like, they don't, and I'm not blowing myself here on, saying like I'm the best rider or whatever. I'm just saying, if you look at statistics and stats and the facts of it, dude, I raced the gnarliest guys. I was racing Carmichael, Stewart, Villapoto, Dungy. Like, there's no joke dudes. Like, yeah, I didn't win, but damn, I was this close. Like, we're talking one little mistake in 05, it's a championship. If I didn't break my clutch lever off in 06, there's another championship. 07 with Langston. If my gas cap didn't pop off and I got a DNF that season, that moto, I only lost by 10 or 12 points to Langston. There's a third championship. Yeah, Stewart was the best in obviously 08. And then in 09, when I did my knee, just doing a silly, press deal, that could have been another championship. So right there, people don't give a lot of credit to like my career and saying I've had a failed career. And in my eyes, if that's a sign of a failed career, being vice champion that many years in a row and making millions of dollars in the process, hell, I think anybody would take that as a failed career.
I agree 100%. Mike, I've always felt you got a bad rap for coming up with creative and different ways to market yourself. It appeared as if you were blackballed early in your pro career.
I was blackballed for sure, right from the beginning of my career, right from the beginning,
Really?
because of the so my left shoulder right there, the Believe the Hype shirts, right?
Oh yeah.
Like that
Oh
blackball
yeah.
that blackballed me right from the beginning, and nobody liked it. They didn't like me, and they didn't want to see me succeed. And when I went out and went 5-4 for third overall at 16 years old at Steel City, people were just like, their jaws hit the ground, and they're like, "Holy crap, this kid actually is good, and he did what he said he was going to do, which was get on the podium." And then the next year, I was fighting for a championship at 16 years old, 17 years old, and people couldn't believe it. And they didn't like the success that I had at such a young age and doing what I said I could do. And the way that we kind of went about it was the wrong way, obviously, with the shirts, which to be honest wasn't even my idea. That was DMXS Radio's idea, and it just blew up, and people didn't like it. So I would say I was just blackballed from the beginning of my career, and that's why people don't like me. They don't perceive me as somebody they want to cheer for. At the end of the day, like the money I've made, the races I've won, the trophies I have, the houses I have, like they can't take it away from me. So I'll just keep laughing all the way to the bank.
That's right.
Thoughts on the amount of hate in our sport?
I feel like so in my career, I've been dealing with hate for, going on, 20 years now of my pro career. I'm almost 36 years old. Like it is what it is. At the end of the day, like, yeah, they can talk crap, but at the end of the day, I just rise above it and don't let it bother me. It is what it is. People are going to say what they want to say. Just worry about you, worry about your
Right.
family, and just be a good person. That's it.
Jeff, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, me and Mike visited about this quite a bit whenever we had a couple hour road trip together from Tulsa to my house, and we talked about it, and we talked about the Believe the Hype shirts one time because when I first met Mike, of course, when I first met him, I had to ask him, hey man, what happened here? Where'd you wreck here? And then it's kind of like you're starstruck for a minute because you can't believe you're really. See, I never looked at him as negative, and I really never looked at him as you know, that I would have hated him or anything. I admired him, and I think that that's the groups that get together to want to hate someone. I think it's not that they are like, oh, I hate that guy. I think it's this guy said something to get this guy to hate him, and then pretty soon you got a wall of people over here that might not like him for some reason. And yeah, you put all those writers together, they're not going to get along. I mean, if they're getting along, that's weird. I mean, there's maybe a handful that are friends and going to get along, but at the end of the day, usually people didn't like you because
You're
maybe
different.
yeah, you're different because you didn't take their shit. You stood on your own ground and said what you felt. And a lot of people don't like that because they don't have the courage to say what they feel, and they don't have enough
Exactly.
balls to confront them. And when you do confront those people, usually they cower down and they turn the other way, because if they point a finger at them, they got four pointing back at themselves because they're not perfect. I'm not perfect. We've all made our own mistakes. Mike is, I don't think he's ever put himself in a, position on his own that it's like, oh, look at that guy. Look what he did. I mean, things around you happen that's out of your control. And there's always two sides to every story. And if you look at only one side, you got a problem with yourself. You don't got a problem with that person. You got a problem with yourself. So it doesn't define that he, someone made a shirt and said, oh, you got to win or you're going to be a loser all your life. I mean, look at his amateur career. I don't think any of that's a joke. I mean, he holds the tie with titles at Loretta's. I mean, his career was nothing but a success. And he's right what he said. They can say what they want, but they ain't doing what he's doing.
I feel a lot of people in our sport ride because it's the only way they know how to free their mind from their reality without drugs or alcohol.
As soon as you put the helmet on, right, there's nobody in your ear to tell you what to do and how to do it. It's all you on the motorcycle and your thoughts and your mind and how you feel. And you're free. You're just free. You're at peace.
That's T. I see many pro athletes struggle because their identity and sense of self is tied to their results. Would you agree?
You're going to lose a lot more in this career than you're going to do winning, 100%. And you learn more from losses than you do from wins.
Mike, when you're coaching the fundamentals of racing with your students, what are you looking to instill within them?
When I'm working with kids, the biggest thing is I want to see them be faster, but I also want them to be safer, smoother, safer riders, right? Smooth is fast, fast is smooth. So if you can be a smooth rider, that's a fast rider. And just trying to just remind them to always look up, watch where they're going, fingers on the clutch, finger on the front brake, have good technique, and that's gonna make you a better rider.
Let's shift gears to modern day racing. Thoughts on Chase Sexton?
I mean, Mike's more of the pro at that, answering that than me. But what I would say, just as a fan watching Supercross, is that I think he's holding himself back. Maybe his nerves are getting him. Maybe the pressure. I mean, I'm sure that he has a lot of people to answer to, and then maybe those thoughts are running through his mind. He can't get rid of them thoughts. I mean, I know if I was in his position, I mean, hell, I know even being in Mike's position, I mean, just watching Mike race and being there, I mean, just watching him Chase on TV is that looks like he's in a hurry, looks like he's in a rush, looks like he maybe doesn't have patience, and maybe he's going to the track instead of the track coming to him. I mean, I think that, I mean, I've never rode at that ability, so I couldn't put myself on his bike to talk for him, but I would say that maybe he's rushing it. Maybe he feels he's in trouble and he's got to go instead of maybe, like Mike said, slow is fast, fast is slow. Maybe he needs to slow down just a hair to go faster. But I mean, I think that Mike's take on that probably be a little bit more of a pro tip. I mean,
What do you think, Mike?
It's a pretty easy answer, honestly. You watch James Stewart, who's the fastest rider this sport's ever seen on a dirt bike. He's done the ability of doing things on the motorcycle that even people to this day still can't do. And if James had just slowed down just a little bit, he would have won multiple titles. It's the same thing with Chase. He needs to slow down just a hair to be smoother and fast. And right now it's not that he's riding over his ability, because his ability is really good. It's just he starts to get that 3 to 5 second lead on Tomac or Webb, and then it's like all of a sudden he thinks that he needs to keep that pace up, where in reality he just needs to start maintaining and maintaining it and kind of checking them in, and then he's got it. He's just in the attack position and mode the whole time, and he just needs to we're talking just a smidge, and then everything would just smooth out.
What was your strategy for beating Ricky Carmichael?
Straight up, like, there was no beating Ricky. And that's why Ricky was so good for his whole career, because he had everybody mentally beat before he even went to the gate. When the guys went to the gate, they're like, oh, we might have a chance. And then Ricky comes rolling up from, the pits into the staging, and it's just like, yep, we're done. We're getting second. Like, they already knew they were getting beat. And even myself, when I raced him in 07, I knew I wasn't beating him. And it just was one of those things where I knew I had to get a good start, put myself in a good position, be up front. When he went by, try to latch on and grab that toe with him and pull me away from everybody else. And it worked. And I was on the podium like more than half the season in 07. Now racing with James was different. James was such a good rider and such a fast rider. But the only difference is he had those abilities where he would make those mistakes, where he would fall, and it would open up the opportunity to do good. Where Ricky, his level as far as like mistakes they were there, but he was just so strong, and he was just mentally so gnarly that he could ride himself out of a crash, or at least a gnarly crash that James would make. And it just two different contrast riders.
Wow. Our sport is physically demanding, but what are your thoughts on the importance of the mental game?
Straight up, this sport is, a lot of people think that it's a physically demanding sport. Don't get me wrong. You have to be in good shape. You have to be working all the time. At the end of the day, though, the mental side is way, way more important than the physical. And that's where Ricky outworked everybody. And he knew that he outworked him during the week. So when he went to the race on the weekend, he was mentally like, I got these guys beat. They ain't going to keep up with me for 35 minutes in 110-degree heat at Red Bud and Millville. Like, it's not going to happen. And straight up, he hit not just myself, but he had everybody else that was on the gate mentally beat because he knew he physically outworked everybody during the week.
Now, what does it take mentally to be an elite athlete?
Yeah. I feel like at the end of the day, to be successful in this sport, you have to be confident. And confidence, it doesn't just happen overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes time. It takes a foundation with the training in the gym, on the bicycle, on the track, doing your laps. And I feel like at the end of the day, to be a successful rider, you have to be confident. And once a rider gets confident, then they're deadly.
What do you think breeds confidence?
What breeds confidence? Having the right mindset. A huge part of it, right, is the will, the work ethic, right? That's a huge part of it because it keeps you away from drugs, alcohol, parties, bad stuff that's going to distract you, right? It keeps you focused on a goal, keeps you focused on what you're striving for, which is results. And at the same time, once you start building that fitness base, right, then the confidence comes with riding the bike faster. You're hitting stuff harder. And then before you know it, you're starting to get better results. And then that's where the results, the confidence breeds results to be successful.
And it's also taking chances that no one else wants to take and doing the workouts that no one else wants to do. And then when you're not training, someone else is.
How did you improve your mental game?
So back when I was, it was like 06, 07, 08, 09, I was seeing a mental coach. I was. And it was like 150, 175 bucks an hour. And, but you know, it's a drop in the bucket when you go on the weekend and you go win and make $100,000. It's no problem. And yeah, just, it builds that foundation that, you know, you're just the baddest dude there. And you know, you're putting in the work during the week. And when I saw this mental coach, it just put me in a mindset where I just believed I could win. And I knew I could win. And that's why I was so successful in the 05, 06, 07, 08, 09. Like those were my best years. And and then once, you know, I wasn't making the money that I was starting in like 2012, 2013, it was different. So I wasn't seeing that person anymore. Where for, like, let's just say like Chase, that might be something crucially beneficial for him right now and something he should be starting. And even if it's just once a week, you know, just to see this person or a person, just to help him with his mental, just to keep his focus sharper and the objective of what's at hand. And it could pay huge dividends to him in winning more Supercrosses and being a champion.
What was the one thing that transpired that made you seek out your mental coach?
I mean, it's hard to pinpoint one thing. It was just something that I felt like I needed to go see just to keep everything in my bubble like straight, and knowing that what the objective was and the goal was to win, and the belief system inside yourself. When you believe in something so much, you almost manifest it, and it just happens. And in this sport, like I've said, it's way more mental than physical.
So true.
Because you can beat yourself out of the race before it even starts.
Which is what Carmichael did his whole career.
Who did?
Carmichael, that's how he beat his competition nearly his whole.
Do you see a lot of similarities between Stewart and Sexton?
100%.
Okay. Yeah. Mike, thoughts on parents' role in racing?
I mean, at the end of the day, you need your parents in your corner, right? And this is something James Stewart Sr. told me after he had just won the championship in 09. And as we're literally walking from the podium, because I got the hole shot, so you get a cool little $1,500 hole shot check. He puts his arm around me and he tells me, at the end of the day, see all these people around James? They might tell him that they have his back. They'll always be there for you. They're the best friend, right? Call you anytime, right? At the end of the day, the only people who have your back is your mom and dad. And they will always have your back. And I feel like that's why James had his dad in his corner his whole career. Chase had his. I mean, you look at it, Ricky had Big Rick and Jeannie. Jeannie was a badass. Like, she pushed him and made him work, right?
Right.
So Straight up, that's why. And I've had my dad my whole career. Yeah, he's done some things, he said some things, and done some things that have maybe not been right. At the end of the day, like I wouldn't want to have it anyway because he was in my corner. And people don't realize that the racing career is such a small window of success. By the time you're back then, 30 was the number. You're pretty much kind of done, retired. You're considered a vet rider, right? But nowadays, with the way that the bodies are
Yeah.
trained, the way that you work on your mind, right, and stay physically active. I'm 35, almost 36 years old. Like I still feel as good as I did 10 years ago, if not better. And that's all from mindset. And I feel like, yeah, just having that right attitude of working hard and striving for success and having the good, right fundamentals in your mind and your body. And for me, I've been with my wife for 20 years. We're going to be celebrating 20 years together in September. So having a good foundation with your family, your wife, your significant other, and just knowing what it takes, which is hard work. In this day and age, you cannot fake hard work, right? The results speak for themselves. Cooper Webb, hard worker. Look at the results. Eli Tomac, hard worker. Look at the results. So at the end of the day, you have to have a good foundation with your family, have to have a good foundation with your training, and also the biggest part is having a good foundation with the riding and your motorcycle.
Thoughts on Eli Tomac in starting a family? How does it change a racing career?
Having a family definitely keeps you on the straight and narrow. It keeps you striving for something because you have to keep food on the table and a roof over your kid's head, which is a huge part of it. Two, I mean, if you have kids at a young age, like 16, 18 years old, right, your career is just going to go straight downhill right from the beginning. Where like for Tomac, to your second question, he's 30, he's established, he's got a house, he's got a wife, he's got his kids, like he's got money in the bank. Like he just races because he's just a pure badass and he just wants to win. And like myself, I just want to race. I just want to just still compete. I want to keep working hard and I want to put food on the table for my wife and my kids and give them a good house and just be a good person. That's it. And that's what Eli's doing. And if the results come, awesome. Like for Eli, if they don't come, then it just is what it is. He's already established himself as,
Right.
a staple in this sport and one of the greatest that there's ever seen. I mean, he's second on the all-time win list. That's huge. It's monumental. They put the Mount Rushmore. He's on there. He's on, his face is there 100%. So he races because he just loves it. He's still competitive. He's still in shape and he knows the pressure's off, right? He has his family, he has his kids, he has his money. It's good. Let's go race. And there's no fluff. There's no bullshit. You know what you're going to get with him, which is a hard worker, and he's going to get the results.
Eli Tomac and Cooper Webb.
To me, it feels like, seems like, looks like two racers that, what's the right word that I'm looking for here? I'm trying to find the words here. Like I said, they don't have nothing to lose, right? For both of them. They feel like they don't want to lose. What's the word I'm looking for right now? It's a perfect word that I'm looking for to feel this answer. Jeff, take over for a second while I think about it.
I don't think that I think that I've seen Eli Tomac and Cooper Webb both back in the day at the Branson Nationals, and Mike's raced that race too when he was amateur, when he was a kid. And I've seen Eli there, and actually I got a photo of my son playing catch football.
Hungry. That's the word I'm looking for. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jeff.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
They do it because they're hungry. They have that hunger inside of them that burns inside of them that they're winners and they can't lose. They don't want to lose. So it keeps them hungry. And that's why you see these guys that are badass like Chase, Eli, and Cooper. They're hungry inside and they have that almost like that will that they can't lose. They won't lose. It's not an option for them.
Yeah, they stay fueled all the time.
They're
hungry because they want to win.
Eli Tomac and Cooper Webb don't seem to have anything to lose.
100%.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they just want to go. They just go clock in like a 8 to 5 job. I mean, when they get to the track, they clock in and do their job and put their work in, and when they leave, they clock out. And it is what it is. They're going to go, you know, make their money and support everybody that's supporting them. And then at the end of the day, when they leave there and they get on the airplane to head back or whatever, they know they've done their job and they've done it the best they can. And that's what Mike's doing. He's doing the best he can. He's doing his job, supporting the people that supporting him. And when he gets on that bike, he's not only he's doing his own thing. He's working for himself, but at the same time, he's working for other people too. That have employed him, and he's his own boss, but he's working for people that are supporting him, just like those guys.
That's right.
Mike, are you one of the winningest racers at Loretta's?
Me, Stewart, and Sansarillo are all tied at 11 titles.
You've got to go back for one more.
No, we're going back. Yeah, we're going.
What are the biggest mistakes for families to avoid at Loretta's?
Well, first and foremost at Loretta's, I always came in super prepared with my training and my riding before I even came to the event. So I just mentally, like the Carmichael situation in a sense, I knew I was mentally the best guy when I came there, and I was gonna win, and I had to win, because obviously back then that was the big cheese, right? You had to win Loretta's to get the sponsorship for the next year, get the recognition, all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, like I said, when I came in, I was prepared the best I could with my training and riding, and I knew I was going to win. It was just I knew I was the best. Where now, it kind of sounds bad, but the Loretta's doesn't equate to much anymore to me as I look back on it now. 20 years ago, when I was racing, it doesn't hold the same clout. Like, you go there and win, it doesn't really equal anything like it did 20, 30 years ago, where you win, you get the factory ride. Where now, the guy who, like DeFrancisco, he already had his deal already done, set in stone before he even did Loretta's. He was racing the Nationals, and he had his deal with Cowie for this year. Whether he won or lost there, or Chance Hymas on Honda, he's basically partners right there with the Lawrence brothers and AJ. So it's like, he's got his whole program already set in stone. So for Loretta's, whether he won or lost, these guys, they're already set in where they're going. Where if you win at Loretta's now, it doesn't really equate to anything, except for just, burning $3,000 to $5,000 in your pocketbook, and mom and dad's checkbook, and mortgaging the house.
Exactly.
And they mortgage the house to take whatever they can there to win and throw it all on the table, and then get back there in the back and don't perform. It's a lot of heads hung down on the way home. It could be bad. The ride home could be bad.
And you're getting yelled at the whole drive home. Mom and dad said, we spent all this money, we did all this, blah, blah, blah. You didn't win. And then you go to sponsors, even if you do good, you get a win or you get a podium or whatever the case may be. You go to the sponsors and they call them up. You're like, oh, awesome, we did a great job. We'll give you 30% or 50% off of, tires and gear or whatever the case may be for next year. It's like, it's a joke.
When Mike went, they would, I seen back when watching all the videos, usually that you'd win, you'd go to a table, the contract would be there, and that ride was a whole lot better home because you might have had a $50,000 Honda card or Kawasaki card, back. And then, like Mike said, a lot of people that I talk to now, whenever they win or something, it might just be a bunch of pictures and then, hey, we're going to give you a set of tires or for the rest of the year type of deal. And you spent $5,000 and they refinanced their motorhome to get there. Mm-hmm. It's sad. It's just a lot of money spent for maybe nothing.
Mike, did you get a factory ride based on your results at Loretta's?
So with my situation, which was kind of odd, so I had tested the 250 Honda a couple of months before Loretta's, and our transition was supposed to be 250 class at Millville in my debut. And I was honest with the guys. I'm like, hey, I don't feel like this bike is up to par with my privateer bike that I was riding at the time. And I said, thank you, but I'm going to ride the 450 because I feel like I have a way better chance and shot at getting, for sure top 10 and maybe even a top 5 or a podium. And they basically like laughed at me because I was racing against Carmichael, Wyndham, Chad Reed, McGrath, Michael Byrne, Sebastian Tortelli, Nick Way, David Fullerman. You talk about the names, like that's 10 guys right there, basically.
Yeah.
So they were like,
Good
yeah,
win.
they're like, yeah, go do your thing. They're like, if you go and ride the 450 class, yeah, we're not helping you, we're not supporting you, and next year you can pretty much find a new team or a new bike to go ride. So we kind of approached KTM about this idea and the proposal, like, hey, my pro debut, we get top 10, X amount of money on contract, and then if we get top 5 or podium, let's strive towards a big X on the contract. And so we went and tested the bike in that summer to go try the new bike that they had in Europe, the KTM 250, which was the gear driven motor and gear driven ignition. And I'm like, I love this bike, awesome. Well, come to find out, the next year it wasn't that same bike. But regardless of the bike itself, I had to go get the results. So I had to put in the work. And I put in the work. Yeah, I flopped the first round. I was running 4th or 5th the second moto, and then my bike locked up on the white flag. So crap happens. That's just how it goes. So on paper, it looks like 35-35, which is terrible. In reality, that second moto was a badass ride. I was right up in there in the top 5. Came back 2 weeks later, a little bit humble, more approach, and we were low key and went 5-4 for 3rd overall and shocked everybody. And then literally that night, next day, we're signed out with KTM and a factory Red Bull KTM rider. And I was there for 05, 06, 07. And then I came back there in 10 to debut the 350, which I still hold the record as the one and only rider to win on that motorcycle in American soil in a national. And
wow.
to do that in 2010, to win that second moto is a feat that will never be broken because, nobody really races the 350 outdoors or Supercross anymore. And that's a cool record and stat to have and know that I have it. And like I said, with our plan here, racing with the General Tire Arena Cross here next year and getting sponsors to be on board to support us and to go racing, it's awesome. It's great. And then with, like I said, the possibility to transition that from Arena Cross to Supercross in February.
Jeff, if anyone listening to this podcast would like to reach out to you, how can they do so?
I could always, Instagram's a big part. How I've had a lot of people message and through there to see different things on the Instagram's probably the best way to get a hold of. And maybe when we're done with this, maybe you could help with a link or something, put that on there to go to. It would be Ride Yamaha 37 on Instagram, and then Siki brand is a brand that kind of playing around with, making some stuff for my stepson, and then email, of course, the JB Campbell 137 at yahoo.com is the ways to kind of get involved in it. And then Mike's got some stuff there. They could always, reach out on him or his wife's Instagram as well. And I think there's some email stuff on there. But I'm just, every single day with my job that I got, I'll go to work right after here, and I got a meeting with a sponsor, a potential one that I'm working on. It's a big one. And so as soon as I'm done with that, I'll go to my, regular job to meet my crew and then report back to Mike, let him know how things are going and what we have in the works. I hustle it every single day hard.
It's like my agent.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of working in there as his agent, getting everything put together for him. That way, all he's got to do is ride and train, because his wife is a full-time mom. There's a lot on her plate. And so I just kind of work all angles, because he needs to work hard, train, ride his bike. It's hard for him to beat the streets and worry about that. So I try to take that worry out for him.
Be a family man, and not just a family man, but a guy who works hard and still wants to go race and strive for results. And Yeah, any of the
Right.
sponsors that are watching, listening, yeah, that's easiest. I mean, obviously, the easiest way to get a hold of us is on Instagram. It's the new promotion, right? It's a new way of life. It's the easiest way to interact and reach people.
Mike, I know you offer motocross schools. Tell us a bit more about them.
Yeah, honestly, like with the riding schools, it's just kind of just happened in the last year or two, just kind of playing around with it. And I'll just kind of pick locations here or there. And, we set up a riding school or a camp for a weekend, and we'll do little bikes on Saturday. We'll do big bikes on Sunday, 9 to 12. And we'll have a certain price for it. And basically, I fly in and work with the kids and teach them the fundamentals about how to ride a motorcycle to be faster but safer riders. And yeah, just something I've been playing around, obviously with the last couple of years, not racing professionally, like just something that I've been kind of reaching out to do. And I've had a lot of good positive outlook on it and people that love it. And, the biggest thing I have is the secrets on starts, right? And that's 90% of the game right now is putting yourself up front and being able to pick the best lines and not having to pull tear offs and get darted with rocks on your chest and get just beat up, right? You can pick the best lines and lead the pack, right? And that's obviously my biggest attribute and what I have the value to give to these kids is starts. And it's something I've been kind of venturing and doing the last couple of years, and I've been enjoying it.
Yeah. You must get asked how to get a hole shot a lot.
Yeah.
Well,
Everybody that we did the motocross school, like we got one Tulsa in September, and then working on a 1 week camp at Janiber's Motocross Park where we just came from a couple weeks ago in July. And but I probably have 100 messages on my phone when I set those up for him on Instagram. The DMs, they say, please tell me we're going to do starts. That's what everybody says on there is, my kid can't get a start to save his life. Are we working starts? Even if that's the whole school, I'm okay with that. They want the starts. First thing they say. And they said, will he give that secret? And I said, yeah, he'll work with you on the starts, because they all think, well, he perfected it, so it's a secret. But it's not that way. He wants them to get a start. It ain't, hey, I'm going to tell you everything but the main recipe ingredient. He wants them to get the start. I mean, so that's the first thing he works with them, actually.
It is the first thing. Yep, because I got their full focus right away, and they're listening and understanding. And the other thing is, once the mom and dad, because they're kind of sitting there on the side of the track or on the fence line watching their kid as I'm working with him, and they visually, they can see the difference, and they're like, holy moly, that's way better. Like, then they know right away that they got their money's worth right there within the first 30, 40 minutes of the first session. I feel like at the end of the day, it's way easier to start first and have 3 or 4 guys pass you and you still finish podium or top 5 than it is to start 20th and have to kill yourself to get to the top 10.
Yeah,
just make life easy. Be up front, dude, and just like I said, pick the best lines, pull no tear offs. You're not getting darted with freaking, size of a paintball, like
bullets
coming out. Exactly,
like dodging bullets.
I thought it was funny because at the last Rita Cross for the GT series where my bike broke and I had to jump on somebody else's bike, I went out and got the whole shot. I got the whole shot on somebody else's bike that I hadn't even ridden the whole night, and I just thought that was funny.
You can pull the whole shot on anything. Pulled the whole shot on a BMX bike.
I don't know about that part, Jeff. Hey, remember it says down here, Mike Alessi, it says Jay Kavanaugh, it says just Jeff, badass. That's what it should say.
Hey, that's just because I really didn't understand. That's my first time, I mean.
Maybe you're awesome.
Yeah, maybe you guys did it wrong. It didn't say you had to put your last name, I wasn't filling out an application or nothing.
I appreciate you both coming on the podcast. Sorry, my fake AI voice had to be used, but it is what it is.
No problem. Thank you. No problem. Thank you guys for having me on, and all the kids watching and the parents, just keep working hard and keep striving for those goals. And biggest thing is be a good person, right? And have good morals and ethics.